Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's a sidewalk and outside of maybe big events where they may clean the ones around where photos may be taken. It otherwise is just covered in dirt from people's shoes and some are barely legible because they haven't been cleaned in ages. Yeah, I was disappointed in how dirty the whole area was. Plymouth Rock in Plymouth, MA. It's literally just a small rock. It's not even the real thing. It was brought there just to have something symbolic to look at, but no one has any clue where the Pilgrims landed in Plymouth. It wasn't even their first landing. They landed in Cape Cod and found it easier to set up camp in Plymouth. In third grade, a meteor crashed in the backyard of a kid's house in my neighborhood. He talked about it every day at school and said people weren't allowed to see because NASA was collecting samples. A few days later he said we could go see but everyone had to pay $5. Me and a few friends paid him and went over his house later that day. When we got to the backyard we saw a 3-foot deep hole that was clearly dug by a shovel. We called him out on it and he said something like, "That's where it landed but the scientists dug around it with shovels to take samples." Worst $5 I've ever spent. I have no idea where you are nowadays but fuck you, Benji. Benji's either a millionaire or in jail. Land's End, UK. Heralded as the fourth most disappointing attraction in the UK. It's not even disappointing enough to win an award. Edit. I mean the landmark in Cornwall, not a clothing store. Dearie me. If you're going to Cornwall I hear the Bude Tunnel. https://www.tripadvisor.co.uk/reviews-bude_tunnel-bude_Cornwall_England.html closing parenthesis is the one attraction you can't afford to miss. Me. An Egyptian. Ah shit, here we go again. Hey wait, my friend, I read your comment. I think that's worth a tip, no? Presents hand for money to be placed in Times Square on New Year's Eve. Just forget it. It has, never, been worth it. I remember a radio host I heard as a kid said the following. Greater than the amazing thing about Times Square on New Year's Eve isn't that you get tens of thousands of people there every year, it's that you get a whole different set of tens of thousands of people there each year. Nobody wants to do it twice, because it's cold and boring and crowded and filthy. Plymouth Rock. I don't know how famous it really is outside of New England, but it's a rock that marks where the Pilgrims supposedly first landed in Massachusetts. It is quite literally just a medium-sized rock with 1620 carved in it, but every elementary school teacher around Massachusetts at least hypes it up for the class field trip to see a literal rock that is not big, impressive, or really historically relevant. Driving an hour on a bus to see this was the most anticlimactic thing and I would not particularly recommend. I'm pretty sure every field trip to Plymouth Rock also went to Plymouth Patuxent Museum, aka Plymouth Plantation Historical Reenactment Village thingy, which was infinitely cooler than the rock, though the appeal of the rock has always been all the tourist shops nearby you could go and buy those honey straws and rock candy from, which I'm pretty sure is the end goal of all elementary school field trips anyways, no? I work close to Times Square in Manhattan. If you have an ad blocker on your computer, you will hate Times Square. Are they skippable at least? The Liberty Bell. You can see it just fine from the sidewalk, and that's about as close as you would get to it inside too. No need to spend money to see it. Plus, there's tons to do in Philly besides look at a bell. But have you licked the Liberty Bell? Hollywood Walk of Fame. Dirty ass street with cheap shops and homeless everywhere. Only nice spot was near the theater. I came here to say this if no one else had. I have lived in the greater LA region my whole life. I can confirm the Walk of Fame is terrible, at least when I went. Last time I went was when I was 10. I remember a bunch of people in character costumes and trying to get people to take pictures with them for money. There were also people hawking CDs and demanding money after shoving them into some unwitting sap's hands. At no point was I there without at least one parent holding my hand tightly. I will concede this was over 15 years ago, though. Hearing mixed things about it now. You can see Mount Rushmore perfectly fine from the road. No need to pay to see it. Did you go recently? It was completely redone when I visited in 2017 and people there were saying it was night and day compared to the before. Egypt. They treat tourists like garbage. A border policeman in Egypt once asked me for a bribe to cut in a long line. $3 well spent. Checkpoint Charlie in Berlin. It used to be the border between the US and Soviet sectors, but all that's left of it is a shack and a sign, and the only thing you can do is pay to get your photo taken with someone in uniform. There's a frickin' McDonald's next to it. I was looking for this, God it was disappointing. I seem to recall there was a really badly dressed soldier who you could take pictures with for €5. Quite enjoyed the DDR museum though. Niagara Falls is a really cool site but it's not worth a trip if you're staying on the American side. The Canadian side is way better and has more things to do. I live 15 minutes from Niagara Falls, and our family was talking about this just yesterday. There's a major international tourist attraction right on their doorstep, but the city of Niagara Falls, NY, is a crime-ridden dump. While the Louvre is amazing and can consume entire days of walking, don't bother fighting the crowds to see the Mona Lisa. It's tiny and has a crowd of tourists dozens deep all taking pictures. No flash photography, be damned, so all you see is flash reflecting off the protective glass. Also, rumor has it that the real Mona Lisa is in a basement and that the one you see is just a very convincing replica. I went to the Louvre in 2009 and the painting opposite the Mona Lisa was significantly more impressive. A 20 feet tall canvas encompassing the entire wall was a very detailed painting of a courtroom if I remember right. Spent more time looking at that cause I could barely see the Mona Lisa through the crowds. Hollywood. I don't mean in the colloquial sense, but rather the actual neighborhood. The neighborhood includes the Walk of Fame and the Chinese Theater. The neighborhood is sketchy, dirty, filthy, disorganized, high crime, and just plain icky, and has been that way since at least the 1950s. The absolute worst period was from the mid-1970s to the mid-1990s, but the neighborhood just sucks less today. Hell, there's a big reason that the residents of West Hollywood literally seceded from any association with the Hollywood community, and formed their own municipality in 1984. There are plenty of fun entertainment industry-related things to do throughout the Los Angeles area, in Hollywood, as the world understands it. Just not Hollywood proper. The best thing in Hollywood is Griffith Park. It's got a zoo at the bottom and an observatory on top. On a sunny windy day, you can even see the ocean. Technically Griffith Park isn't in Hollywood, but it's pretty much right next door. Dubai is a twisted parody of everything wrong with modern society and I judge anyone who goes there for their Insta pics. Edit. Grammar because I used there like a fool. And also thank you for silver. I read some comment online that Dubai is like someone was playing SimCity in sandbox mode and just said fuck it to any kind of planning or organization. Mannequin pies in Brussels. So tiny and bonus with a lot of people hiding the site. The only fun part is that he's dressed differently at points. Yeah, as a Belgian I never understood the popularity. It's a funny legend and a fairly unique mascot, but it's just a tiny statue. And, asterisk yet you see, mostly Asian, tourists glued to it with their cameras. Belgium and Brussels have a lot more to offer than that. Dubai. Dubai looks like a giant cleaned-up Las Vegas strip. Like, it has the style of someone who has no taste but a lot of money to make something look like their interpretation of fancy and high class. Clanbarpith Gwyngath Gagarethwyndrabith Lenticilia Gogogok in Wales. Nothing there except an Edinburgh Wall and Mills shop. Which is just silly as Edinburgh is nearly 300 miles away. I think you're just taking the piss. But I'd like to confirm to other readers that Edinburgh Woolen Mills is a Carlisle-based retailer specialising in clothing with outlets throughout the UK. Hollywood. I took a trip while I was stationed in California and it was the most absolute disgusting place I've ever seen. Besides the homelessness issue there, you'll find trash all over the streets and sketchy businesses, liquor stores, souvenir shops, etc. I'm sure when there's a big event going on, the city cleans up for a day, but it just looked like shit when I went. Can confirm. Lived in Hollywood for 4 years and the touristy bits are disgusting. Cairo. Filthiest, rudest, lousiest, stinkiest and most sexual assaultiest place I've ever been. Even the locals seem to fucking hate it there. Everyone is pissed of and trying to steal from you. Every street crossing is a death trap. All the men seem to think it's okay to grope women in public. Child labor everywhere. Animal abuse everywhere. Lack of sanitation everywhere. And no clean drinking water. Random military checkpoints everywhere. Corrupt cops and soldiers asking for bribes everywhere. The entire city seems to be run on a convoluted system of kickbacks. Mall of America. It's literally just a giant mall with the same stores as a small mall. Sometimes even the same store twice. The aquarium in the basement is nice though. At least I remember it being nice, but that was years ago. I'm sure it was overpriced then too.